Hey guys, welcome to Hip Hughes History. We're hitting you up with another election. This time we're doing 1904, Alton Parker versus the Big Teddy, baby. We're going to go over the candidates, what are their positions, what are the determining factors, and then we're going to do the giddy up for the learning guys. Let's grow your brain. Let's go get her done right now. So it's a walloping, guys. The 1904 election is one of the largest popular vote margins and electoral margins since back in the days of James Monroe. We're talking about a 336 to 140 electoral victory. You can see that Alton Parker, the Democratic candidate, is only carrying the solid South, the same solid South from the Civil War. It hasn't changed much. It doesn't matter that he's a Democrat from New York. All that matters is he's got the D next to his name, and you can see that Teddy Roosevelt's going to win in all of the other states. 32 states to the 13 southern states that voted for Alton Parker. We're talking about a 7.6 million to 5 million popular vote victory. That's 56 to 38%. That's humongous. So this is really the continuing of Republican dominance. Now let's take a look at the two candidates, the issues, and we'll go get her done. They asked someone in the business community why they were supporting Teddy Roosevelt, and they said they would rather have the unpredictable head of a predictable party than the predictable head of an unpredictable party. It shows you really that there's a lot of crossover between these two candidates. You have someone in the Republican Party who's really to the left of the conservative Republican Party, and that's Teddy Roosevelt. And then you have somebody in the Democratic Party that's much more conservative than, say, a William Jennings Bryan, a bourbon Democrat by the name of Alton Parker, and he is a former Chief Justice of the New York State Court of Appeals, and he had strong ties with the Republican Party, even though he is a Democrat. He's a bourbon Democrat, a conservative Democrat, going back to the days of kind of the Jeffersonian Democrats, really kind of a laissez-faire approach to big business. Parker even ruled the 8-hour day unconstitutional when he was sitting on the bench. So this is a guy with strong ties to the business community. In fact, his vice presidential candidate, Henry Davis, former senator from West Virginia, trying to bring West Virginia to the Democratic side, 80 years old. How about that, guys? 80 years old, oldest man ever to run for vice president, was a former mine owner, a railroad kind of magnate, a banker. They have ties with Wall Street. And even though Roosevelt is a trust buster, he early on had made deals with the business community that he was going to do a limited approach in his executive actions against only the biggest trusts and really leave a lot of the Wall Street community alone. In fact, he also made a deal with a lot of the Republican conservatives in Congress that they would give him free rein on foreign affairs, which he did, the Roosevelt Corollary going to the Panama Canal, in exchange for kind of backing off some of his domestic program, his square deal. It will be his square deal that'll be more implemented in his second term from 1904 to 1908. Now, what are the big issues? The big issues previous to this was bimetallism, right? Kind of the silver versus gold standard. Well, guess what? Alton Parker believes in gold. He's a bourbon Democrat. Teddy Roosevelt believes in gold. They believe in trading with other countries and some protectionism tariffs. So they have a lot of likeness in a lot of their political positions. And that's why it's a less spirited campaign than when William Jennings Bryan ran. In fact, William Jennings Bryan wouldn't support Alton Parker. A lot of people wanted Bryan to run again. He wouldn't run again. He's going to be back in 1908 to run again. But Alton Parker was actually challenged at the Democratic Convention by none other than William Randolph Hearst. William Randolph Hearst, the newspaper magnate, is a progressive. He's looking for the support from some of the insiders from the populist side of the Democratic Party, the progressives like William Jennings Bryan, but he's not going to get it, and Alton Parker is going to take the nomination pretty easily. So him and Henry Davis are going up against Teddy Roosevelt and Charles Fairbank, who is a more conservative Indiana senator. That was kind of a nod to the conservatives in the party that Teddy Roosevelt was going to do that for him. But just a really interesting story. Teddy Roosevelt is going to the business community. He goes to Henry Clay Frick, and Henry later said that he got down on his knees and begged him for money, and then we own the son of a you-know-what. So the business community and Teddy Roosevelt are in some way in an alliance, maybe a secret alliance, in order to keep him in power, and more importantly, to keep the Republican Party in power, which is still the pro-business party. There's just not a lot of issues that separate these guys, and that's probably why it's a less spirited campaign. It's less hoopla and kind of accusations going across the field. It is just a good old American political romping. there's really not too much of a argument that the Democrats have against the successful reign of Teddy Roosevelt as president. Not only domestically are we doing okay, but in terms of foreign affairs, he's rocking the Casbah. So they would put out quotes like, Teddy Roosevelt is spasmodic. I don't even know if that's a word. He's erratic. He's sensational. He's arbitrary. And really, they're not attacking his policies. They're trying to attack his character. And Teddy Roosevelt's just a gangster. The country loves him. So the 1904 election, the Democratic Party as a conservative candidate, they're not into the progressive mold of, say, like a FDR kind of candidate yet. And Teddy Roosevelt is going to be the last progressive Republican. From here on out, we're going to start to see the Democratic Party start going towards more of the progressivism with Woodrow Wilson. And we're going to see a return to conservatism, first with Taft, and then as we go on, Harding, Coolidge, and Hoover. The days of Teddy Roosevelt and the Republican progressive movement are soon going to come to an end. So one more time, there's the electoral map. Just look at all the red. Obviously, you know the blue is down there in the Old South, the Southern Coalition. There you go, guys. So we hope you learned something. Giddy up for the learning, guys. If you haven't subscribed, you can subscribe by clicking that big red button up there. It'll just take you a second, so we'll give you a second. That was awesome. Thank you. And if you haven't checked out the playlist, we have a playlist for Election for Dummies. We've covered 16 or 17 elections. You can click that button right there and zip off through the internet. Find your favorite election. Tell me which one do you think I should do next, because I still have a boatload to do. So there you go, guys. I say it every time that I teach, where attention goes, energy flows, and we'll see you guys next time that you press my buttons.